Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, and we are back after a little hiatus last weekend with technical difficulties with StreamYard. So we're back this weekend with the same topic as last weekend. But before we get started into that, um, I just want to plug an event real quick. Um, the Rock Island Historic Expo on October 3rd and 4th. Um, Myself will be there. It all starts on Friday, where you can sit around the campfire, listen about spirits, watches, and stories around the campfire, and CE5, which deals with UFOs. So you can sit around the campfire, listen to that. Annabelle will be there, the Devil on the Run tour, Warren's Occult Museum. That's an extra $55 for an add-on ticket to see Annabelle and the rest of the Warren's Occult items there. Um, General admission is $5 to get in, and that is on the 4th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And there'll be a whole array of paranormal investigators as well as TV investigators from 28 Days Haunted will be there. Get Haunted will also be there. Um, and we'll also be there, my dad and I. So come to our booth, get a picture with us, talk to us about the podcast, residential cases, demonology, anything like that. We will be there. So we'll be down in the basement. Tickets are available at extremeticketing.com. They are doing a paranormal investigation afterwards that night. So there's separate tickets for that as well. I think it's going to be led by War Party Paranormal and Get Haunted of the Rock Island Roadhouse. So make sure you get your tickets for that on extremeticketing.com. Also, if you're interested in volunteering, they are looking for volunteers. Reach out to Candy Slater or Kaylee from Get Haunted or Sarah from Get Haunted, and they'll be able to hook you up with volunteer spots. So it's going to be a good Paracon. Over 100 vendors will be there, anywhere from psychics to paranormal researchers to UFOs to cryptids. So there's something for everybody. Make sure you come on out, say hello to everybody, and check us all out. We, like I said, we all have something different. There will be even equipment builders there as well. My friend Bill from Empty Casket Paranormal that builds equipment, he'll be out there too. He's down in the basement with us, so and Nesper's down in the basement with us as well. So make sure you guys come out, check it out. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the show. Um, we were gonna try to do this last week, but we had technical difficulties, so we didn't be able to do it. Um, we are going to be talking about two of the famous exorcisms that happened that are based on hit movies that came out. Um, the one exorcism we're going to talk about is, you recognize this movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And this one was a pretty good, decent movie. Kind of touched on some of the exorcism, but we're going to actually talk about the real exorcism that happened to Annalise Michael. And then the next one we're going to talk about is Roland Hunkerler, which they'd known him as Roland Doe. This is a big exorcism that happened here right in Missouri in St. Louis, which inspired the hit movie The Exorcist that scared a whole bunch of us as kids when you watched it. So without further ado, we're going to start off with Annalise Michael and the exorcism of Emily Rose. Now, if you are sensitive, uh, you are talking about demonic and exorcism. So if you are sensitive to that stuff, if you feel you need to put up protection for yourself, feel free to do so. Um, say some prayers before, whatever your belief system may be. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So Anna Elizabeth Michael, she was born September 21st, 1952, and she passed away on July of 1976. She was a German woman who underwent 67 Catholic exorcism rites during the year before her death. She died of malnutrition, for which her parents and the priests who performed the exorcisms were convicted of negligent homicide. She was diagnosed with epileptic psychosis, which is temporal lobe epilepsy, and manic depression bipolar disorder, and had a history of psychiatric treatment that proved ineffective. When Michael was 16, she experienced a seizure that was diagnosed with psychosis caused by temporal lobe epilepsy. Shortly thereafter, she was diagnosed with depression and was treated by a psychiatric hospital. By the time she was 20, she had become intolerant to various religious objects and began to hear voices. Her condition worsened despite medication, and she became suicidal, also displaying other symptoms for which she took medication as well. After taking psychiatric medication for 5 years, failed to improve her symptoms, Michael and her family became convinced she was possessed by a demon. As a result, her family appealed to the Catholic Church for an exorcism. While rejected at first, two priests got permission from the local bishop, Joseph Stangl, to perform an exorcism in 1975. The priest began performing exorcisms, and families stopped consulting doctors. Michael stopped eating food and died of malnourishment and dehydration after 67 exorcism sessions. Michael's parents and two Catholic priests were found guilty of negligent homicide and were sentenced to 6 months in jail, reduced to 3 years of probation, as all was well as well as a fine. Um, Several religious horror films based her story, including the 2005 The Exorcism of Emily Rose, the 2006 film Requiem, and the 2011 film Annalise, The Exorcist Tapes. Her early life, she was born Anna Elizabeth Michael on September 21st, 1952, in Liebefing, Bavaria, West Germany, to a Roman Catholic family. Michael and her three sisters are raised by their parents, Joseph and Anna. She attended Mass twice a week. When she was 16, she experienced a severe convulsion and was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy. In 1973, Michael attended the University of Würzburg. Her classes later described her as withdrawn and very religious. In June of 1970, Michael had a third seizure at a psychiatric hospital where she had been staying. She was prescribed anticonvulsion drugs for the first time, including Dilantin, which did not alleviate the problem. She described seeing devil faces at various times of the day. That same month, she was prescribed Alap, which is a similar to chlorpromazine and is used in the treatment of various psychotic conditions, including schizophrenia, disturbed behavior, and delusions. By 1973, she began experiencing depression, hallucinated while praying, and complained about hearing voices telling her that she was damned and would rot in hell. Michael's treatment in the psychiatric hospital did not improve her health or her depression, and her depression worsened. Long-term treatment did not help either, and she grew increasingly frustrated with her medical care. After having a pharmaceutical drugs for 5 years, Michael became intolerant of Christian sacred places and objects such as the crucifix. Michael visited the unauthorized shrine of San Damiano in Piacenza with a family friend who regularly organized Christian pilgrimages in Italy. Her escort in Piacenza was convinced that she was suffering from demonic possession because she was unable to walk past a crucifix and refused to drink the water of the Christian holy spring. Annalise told me and Peru Hein confirmed this that she was unable to enter the shrine. She approached it with the greatest hesitation and then said that the soil burned like fire and she simply could not stand it. She then walked around the shrine in a wide arc and tried to approach it from the back. She looked at the people who were kneeling in the area surrounding the little garden, and it seemed to her that while praying, they were gnashing their teeth. She got as far as the edge of the little garden, and then she had to turn back. Coming from the front again, she had to avert her glance from picture of Christ in the chapel of the house. She made it several times to the garden, but could not get past it. She also noted that she could no longer look at medals or pictures of saints. They sparkled so immensely that she could not stand it. Father Ernest Alt, Michael's mother, said that she saw stigma on her daughter. Michael believed she could communicate with Mary, mother of Jesus. Michael's family and community became convinced that she was possessed and consulted by several priests and requested an exorcism. Priest declined, recommended continuation of medical treatment, and informed the family that exorcisms required the bishop's permission. In the Catholic Church, official approval for an exorcism is granted when a subject strictly meets set criteria and is considered to be suffering from possession, infestato, and under demonic control. Intense dislike for religious objects and supernatural powers are some of the first indications. Michael worsened psychologically and she began treatment with Tegretol, an anti-seizure drug and mood stabilizer. She was prescribed antipsychotic drugs during the course and began religious rites and consumed frequently until the time before her death. Despite taking neurologic medications, Michael's symptoms worsened. She began growling obscenities, screaming guttural curses, and ravaging wildly. Bishop Joseph Stengel, who approved the exorcism in May of '59 photo, a family friend of Michael's requested the elderly Jesuit priest Adolf Roderick to visit Annalise, but he declined due to his old age and put the family in contact with another Jesuit. In September of '74, the local priest had visited Annalise. Father Ernest Alt declared that Michael didn't look like an epileptic and that he did not observe or experience seizures. However, declared that Michael didn't look epileptic and that he observed her experiencing seizures. However, between July and August of '75, Alt came to believe that she was suffering from demonic possession and urged Joseph Stengel, the Bishop of Würzburg, to allow the exorcism. In the letter to Alt in 1975, Michael wrote, "I am nothing. Everything about me is vanity." And "You pray for me," also told him, "I want to suffer for other people, but this is so cruel." In August of '75, Stengel granted Father Alt the permission of performing a small exorcism on Michael. Pope Leo, exorcism against Satan and the apostate angels, a rite at which any priest could recite, as it doesn't require episcopal approval. In September of 75, Father Rodwick visited Annalise and Alt wrote detailed reports of her case to Bishop Joseph Stangl, untangible to third parties, arguing in favor of the genuine demonic possession and urging Stengel to allow them to perform a major rite of exorcism. Eventually, Stengel granted Salvatorian priest Arnold Renz permission to conduct an exorcism according to the Roman ritual, Latin ritual Roman, but ordered total secrecy. And note, Renz performed the first session on 24th of September. Michael began increasingly speaking about dying to atone for the wayward youth of the day of the apostate priests of the modern church. Her parents stopped consulting doctors at her request and relied solely on the exorcism rites. A total of 67 exorcism sessions, one or two each week lasting up to 4 hours, each were performed over approximately 10 months. 1975 and 76, towards the end of her life, Michael began to refuse food. Let's check the chat here. Looking at her and listening to her voice recordings when she was possessed is crazy to hear that coming from her. Yeah, I mean it is scary. Hey Greg, welcome in. I mean, I've dealt with partial possession on several cases that we do, and so I mean I've seen it when you got people's eyes rolling in the back of their heads and saying it's mine, I don't want it to go, and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to see it, and I've talked to several Roman Catholics, especially my mentor, Sister Farah, and she told me like some of that stuff you see in the movies where the bones are cracking and they're twisting all up and pretzel looking is actually real. That actually does happen in an exorcism. And so we're gonna continue on. This is the death of Annalise Michael, and it was July 1st of 1976, 49 years ago, Killingberg, Maine, Bavaria, West Germany. Homicide by malnutrition and dehydration. The motive, attempted exorcism, organized by Joseph Michael, Anna Michael, Ernest Alt, Arnold Renz. Verdict guilty. Convictions, negligent homicide. They were sentenced to 3 years suspended sentence. On July 1st of 1976, Michael died in her home. The autopsy report stated the cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration resulting from almost a year of near starvation while the rites of exorcism were performed. She weighed 30 kilograms, which was only 66 pounds. She suffered broken knees from continuous genuflections and was unable to move without assistance and was reported to have contracted pneumonia. The prosecution, after the investigation, the state prosecutor maintained that Michael's death could have been prevented as late as 1 week before she died. In 1976, the state charged Michael's parents and priests, Ernest Alt and Ernest Renz, with the negligent homicide. The parents were defended by famed Nuremberg trials defense attorney Eric Schmidt, Leichinger, and the priest's defense counsel were paid by the church. The state recommended that no one of the involved parties be jailed. Instead, the recommended sentence for the priest was a fine, while the prosecution concluded that the parents should be exempt from punishment as they had suffered enough, a mitigating legal factor in the German penal law. On July 14th of 1977, New York Times article reported that the Aschaffenburg prosecutor had announced that two Roman Catholic priests had been charged with negligent homicide in the death of Annalise Michael, who undergone an exorcism a year previously. The trial began on March 30th of 1978 in the district court and drew intense interest. Doctors testified that Michael was not possessed, stating that manifestations of demonic possession were a psychological effect of her strict religious upbringing as well as her epilepsy. Schmidt Leitinger argued that the exorcism was legal and that the German Constitution provided citizens in the unrestricted exercise of their religious beliefs. And defense played tapes recorded at the exorcism session, sometimes featuring what was claimed to be demons arguing to assert their claim that Michael was possessed. Both priests claimed that six demons identified themselves as Lucifer, Cain, Judas, Iscariot, Nero, Adolf Hitler, and an evil priest named Fleischmann. They also stated that Michael was finally freed of demonic possession resulting from the exorcism just before her death. Bishop Stengel said that he was not aware of Michael's alarming health condition when he approved the exorcism and did not testify in court. In April 1978, the Michaels and the two priests were convicted of negligent homicide but were given suspended prison sentences and were ordered to share the cost of legal proceedings. The sentences have been described as stiffer than those requested by the prosecutor, who had asked the priest only to be fined and that the parents be found guilty but not punished. By approving the ancient exorcism rite, the Catholic Church drew public and media attention, according to author John M. Duffy. The case was a misidentification of mental illness. Exhumation and aftermath. After Michael's gravesite, which became a place of pilgrimage after the trial, the Michaels asked the authorities for permission to exhume the remains of their daughter because she had been buried in undue hurry in a cheap coffin. Almost 2 years after the burial, on the 25th of February 1978, her remains were replaced in a new oak coffin lined with tin. The official reports state that the body bore signs of constant with deterioration of a corpse of that age. The family and the priest were discouraged from viewing Michael's remains. Father Renz later stated that he had been prevented from entering the mortuary. Michael's gravesite remains a pilgrimage site as she is revered by small groups of Catholics who believe she's atoned for wayward priests and a sinful youth. The number of officially sanctioned exorcisms decreased in Germany following the incident. Michael's father, Joseph Michael, died in 1999. In a 2006 interview, Anna Michael stated that she did not regret her actions, saying, "I know we did the right thing because I saw the sign of Christ in her hand." On June 6th of 2013, a fire engulfed the house where Michael had lived. Although the local police determined that it was a case of arson, some locals attributed the fire to the exorcism case. So, and that's a little bit on Annalise Michael. And many of you know, I don't know if you guys have seen the video. Um, Zach Bagans actually had bought the actual exorcism box that was used in that exorcism. Uh, a filmmaker named Christopher St. Booth actually owned that box, and he had sold it to Zach Bagans for Zach Bagans Museum. And they claim it was the actual Exorcist box. There's a big YouTube video on it with Bishop Christina Rake talking about the box, and Christopher St. Booth talking about it. And so it is now in his museum, so you can actually go see that exorcism box. And people still say they feel energy off that box, which I hope he's got it in a glass case in that museum because, that gives off some wicked energy if you're going in there and you're feeling that. So, but we are going to check the chat here before we move on to our next topic. All right, we're going to move on to our next one. Our next one was actually based on, most of you know this movie. You're into the paranormal, you're into horror. Um, The Exorcist, which scared a lot of us as kids when we saw it, and Linda Blair playing the demonic child, spinning her head, spitting out pea soup. Um, but The Exorcist was actually based on an actual case that happened here in St. Louis, Missouri. This is the actual house that the exorcism happened in. This is the Exorcist house right here in St. Louis, Missouri. Um, Most of you know it as the Roland Doe case, which is Roland Hunkeler. He was the one that was possessed, the boy that was possessed here in Missouri. The Booth brothers had it. Oh yeah, I remember them saying they had it there. I saw a post of it, and then in the video they talked about it. I know Christopher St. Booth gets a lot of these objects, and he does it at auction and sells them off. I know there was a big TMZ interview about it too with Zach about the whole exorcism box. So we are going to move on to Roland Doe, which is the case that inspired the movie The Exorcist. This happened in the late 1940s in the United States. Priests of the Catholic Church performed a series of exorcisms on an anonymous boy documented under pseudonym Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim. The 14-year-old boy was said to be a victim of demonic possession, and events were recorded by the attending priest Raymond J. Bishop. Subsequent supernatural claims surrounding the events were used as elements in William Peters Blatty's 1971 novel The Exorcist. In December 2021, the Skeptical Inquirer reported that purported true identity of Roland Doe Robbie Mannheim as Roland Edwin Hunkler. He was born June 1st of 1935, and he died May 10th of 2020. Before we get started, we'll look at the chat again. It was Ursula Bellis, last one. Thought it happened in Missouri. Yep. Yeah, it happened in St. Louis. The Exorcist house is actually still there. In fact, we have a client that only lived like 3 minutes from the Exorcist house. So, yeah, the house is still there. I believe people live in it now, just like they do Amityville and stuff like that. I don't know if there's any reports that stuff that goes on or not. But the origin of claims for this case in the mid 1949, several newspaper articles printed an anonymous report of an alleged possession and exorcism. The source for these reports is sought to be the family's former pastor, Luther Miles Schultz. According to one account, a total of 48 people witnessed this exorcism, 9 of them Jesuits. According to author Thomas B. Allen, a Jewish priest, Father Walter H. Halloran was one of the last surviving eyewitnesses of the events and participated in the exorcism. Allen wrote that a diary kept by attending priest Father Raymond J. Bishop detailed the exorcism performed on pseudonymly identified Roland Doe, aka Robbie. Speaking in 2013, Allen emphasized that the definitive proof that the boy known only as Robbie was possessed by malevolent spirits is untangible. According to Allen, Halloran also expressed his skeptical about potential paranormal events before his death. When asked in an interview to make a statement verifying that the boy had actually been demonically possessed, Halloran responded saying, "No, I can't go on record. I never made an absolute statement about the things because I didn't feel I was qualified." Early life about Roland. Roland was born into a German Lutheran family in 1935. During the 1940s, the family lived in Cottage City, Maryland. According to Allen, Roland was the only child and depended upon adults in his household for playmates, primarily his Aunt Harriet. His aunt, who was a spiritualist, introduced Roland to the Ouija board, and when he expressed interest in it, which, there you go, Ouija board coming into play. That answering about seeing exorcism box Chris Booth had at the event. According to Thomas B. Allen, after Aunt Harriet's death, the family experienced strange noises, furniture moving on its own accord, ordinary objects such as vases flying or levitating when the boy was nearby. The family turned to their Lutheran pastor, Luther Miles Schultz, for help. Long interested in parapsychology, Schultz arranged for the boy to spend the night in his home in order to observe him. When the parapsychologist Joseph Banks Rhine learned that Schultz claimed he witnessed household objects and furniture seemingly moving by themselves, Rhine wondered if Schultz unconsciously exaggerated some of the facts. Schultz advised that boy's parents to seek a Catholic priest. According to the traditional story, the boy then underwent a number of exorcisms. Edward Hughes, a Roman Catholic priest, conducted an exorcism on Roland at Georgetown University Hospital, a Jesus suit institution. During the exorcism, the boy allegedly slipped one of his hands out of the restraints, broke a bed spring from under the mattress, and used it as an impromptu weapon, slashing the priest's arm and resulting in the exorcism ritual being halted. After the failed exorcisms, additionally incidents occurred, including unexplained scratches on Roland's body. The boy's mother, a native of St. Louis, Missouri, desperately sought opportunities for a change of scenery. Upon seeing the word Louis appear in the scratches on the boy's ribcage, the family resolved to travel to St. Louis. The family stayed at a relative's home in the inner belt suburb of Belle Noire. During their stay, Roland's cousin contacted one of their professors at the St. Louis University, Bishop, who in turn spoke to William S. Bowdern, an associate of College Church. Together, both priests visited Roland and his relative's home, where they allegedly observed a shaking bed, flying objects, and the boy speaking in a guttural voice and exhibiting an aversion to anything sacred. Bowdern was granted permission from the Archbishop to perform another exorcism. The exorcism took place at the Alexian Brothers Hospital in South St. Louis, later called South City Hospital, which closed its doors in 2023. Before the next exorcism ritual began, another priest, Walter Halloran, was called to the psychiatric wing of the hospital where he was asked to assist Bowdern. William Van Roo, a third Jesus suit priest, was also there to assist. Halloran stated that during this scene, words such as evil and hell, along with other various marks, appeared on the teenager's body. Allegedly, during the Litany of Saints portion of the exorcism ritual, the boy's mattress began to shake. Moreover, Roland broke Halloran's nose during the process. Halloran told a reporter that after the rite was over, the anonymous subject of the exorcism went on to lead a rather ordinary life. Investigations and explanations in the 93 book Possessed, the true story of an exorcism, author Thomas B. Allen offered the consensus of today's experts that Robbie was just a deeply disturbed boy, nothing supernatural about him. Author Mark Opusnick questioned many of the supernatural claims associated with the story, proposing that Roland Doe was simply a spoiled, disturbed bully who threw deliberate tantrums to get attention or to get out of school. Opusnick reports that Halloran, who was present at the exorcism, never heard the boy's voice change, and he thought the boy merely mimicked Latin words he heard clergymen say, rather than gaining a sudden ability to speak Latin. Opusnick reported that when marks were found on the boy's body, Halloran failed to check the boy's fingernails to see if he had made the marks himself. Opusnick also questioned the stories of Hugh's attempts to exorcise the boy and his subsequent injury, saying that he could find no evidence that such an episode had actually occurred. During his investigation, Opusnick discovered the exorcism did not take place at 3210 Bunker Hill Road in Mount Rainier, Maryland. The boy never lived in Mount Rainier. The boy's home was in Cottage City, Maryland. Much of the commonly accepted information about this story is based on hearsay and is not documented and never fact checked. There is no evidence Father E. Albert Hughes visited the boy's home and had admitted to Georgetown Hospital, requested the boy be restrained at the hospital, attempted an exorcism of the boy in Georgetown Hospital, or was injured by the boy during the exorcism or at any other time. There is ample evidence refuting claims that Father Hughes suffered an emotional breakdown and disappeared from the Cottage City community. According to Opusnick, individuals connected to the incident were influenced by their own specifications to psychiatric. Rob Doe suffered from mental illness. To priests, this was the case of demonic possession. To writers and film video producers, this was a great story to exploit for profit. Those involved saw what they were trained to see, each perpetrated to look at the facts, but just the opposite was true. Naturally, they manipulated the facts and emphasized information that fit their own agendas. Opusnick wrote that after he located and spoke with neighbors and childhood friends of the boy, most of whom he only referenced by initials, he concluded that the boy had been a very clever trickster who had pulled pranks to frighten his mother and to fool children in the neighborhood. Skeptic Joe Nickel wrote that there was simply no credible evidence to suggest the boy was possessed by demons or evil spirits, and maintains that the symptoms of possession can be childishly simple to fake. Nickel dismissed suggestions that supernatural forces made scratches or markings or caused words to appear on the teenager's body in unreachable places, saying a determined youth probably, even without a wall mirror, could easily have managed such a feat if it actually occurred, although the scratch messages profilated that they never again appeared on a difficult to reach portion of the boy's anatomy. On one occasion, the boy was reportedly seen scratching the words hell and Christ into his chest by using his own fingernails. According to Nichols, nothing that was reliably reported in the case was beyond the abilities of the teenager to produce. The tantrum trances moved furniture, hurled objects, automatic writing, superficial scratches, and other phenomena were just kinds of things some of our age could accomplish, just as others have done before and since. Indeed, the elements of poltergeist phenomenon, spirits communication, demonic possession, taken both separately and especially together, as one progressed to the other, suggests nothing so much as role playing involved trickery. Nickel also dismissed stories of the boy's prejudiced strength, saying he showed nothing more than what he could be summoned by an agitated teenager, and criticized popular accounts of exorcism for what he termed a stereotypical storybook portrayal of the devil. Religious perspectives. Two Christian academics, Terry D. Cooper and professor of psychology, and Cindy K. Epperson, a professor of sociology, wrote that advocates of possession believe that although they are not frequent, exorcisms are necessary for casting out the demonic, and cases in genuine possession cannot be explained by psychiatry. Cooper and Epperson devoted a chapter of their book, Evil, Satan, Sin, and Psychology, to the case and dismissed the natural explanations in favor of a supernatural perspective regarding the nature of evil. Literature and film. The exorcism case inspired the 1971 novel The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, which in turn was adapted into the 1973 horror film of the same title. The case also inspired the 2000 movie Possessed, which is said to be closer to the story in Allen's book. A documentary was made of the case titled In Grip of Evil. Another documentary film was made in 2010 titled The Haunted Boy, The Secret Diary of the Exorcist, where a group of investigators travel to the location in question and uncovers the diary that is said to kept by William S. Bowdern. In Criminal Minds Season 4, Episode 17, Demonology, during an odd investigation to a few crimes, Agent Rossi mentions Robbie and the exorcisms to Agent Prentice. So that's a little bit on that. So yeah, I need to get off. My dog got up. Chandler's swinging heavy. Chandelier swinging heavy. Okay. My air conditioning going, but it shouldn't swing like that. And my dog. Okay. But I mean, yeah, I mean, with a teenager, you do have you. They can manifest poltergeist activity because of hormone changes. If you notice, anybody viewing has teenagers, their hormones get crazy. They get really moody, and so they can manifest poltergeists to where things will levitate and be thrown. They can also bring in the darker stuff too. I mean, I have seen people fake possession. Um, we worked a case with another team, and this girl, she was, yeah, Petra, good luck. Prayers are with you. Do some cleansing. Um, so we got called to assist on that, and so we go out there, and perfect normal girl. She was gave everybody hugs, said hi to everybody, and then all of a sudden it was just like that. and then she started getting a blank stare and kind of growling at us. And so I waved some religious stuff in front of her. She didn't react. Now, demonic possession, you wave a St. Benedict's medal or a cross that's blessed in front of somebody that's demonically possessed, they're going to attack you. She didn't do nothing. So we played a little psychological thing. I said, okay, I'm going to go call my mentor, demonologist friend Farah, and we're going to have her come out and bring a priest down. So I go outside the door and I stood next to the door and I put it on speakerphone. And Farah and I just did this psychologically thing. And she was focused on that door and she heard that she was coming out with a priest. So this girl just kept doing this for a while and kept doing it for a while, and growling, trying to grab people, and finally grabbed one person, and we restrained her. She didn't even have any superhuman strength. When you're demonically possessed, you have superhuman strength. You can't hold somebody. They'll throw you backwards like you're nothing. And so she started nodding off on the couch. I was like, let's do a cleansing. Put a big blessed St. Benedict medal on her shoulder. She squirmed around, didn't react to it really. It wasn't burning her, nothing like that. And then the cat hopped up there with her and starts licking her face. So we're like, you might as well just give it up. We know you're faking it because a cat won't hop up there. A cat can see a demonic entity for what it truly is. That's why if you notice, like, demonic will do stuff to your pets because they can see them at their true form when they disguise themselves to us as like a loved one or human being spirit. An animal can see them at their true form, and so and then she finally come clean that she was faking it to scare her sister. So sometimes you got to look out for that. I mean, the demonic stuff is very rare. But it is there. I mean, it gets thrown around quite a bit. The word does, but it is there, and I mean, it's like I said, it's very rare, and it's more with past trauma, stuff like that, um, disabilities. Have you ever encountered? Yeah, I have. I've done a couple demonic cases. My very first one, I watched the lady's eyes roll in the back of her head, saying it's mine. I don't want it to leave, and then an upside down cross gets scratched in the side of her neck, basically showing us, hey, look what I can do. If you keep messing around and poking the bear, you're gonna. This is what I'm gonna do. And then I dealt with one in Oklahoma. A guy was doing demonic worshiping in his house, and he had a 9 and 10 year old in the home. His mom called us out because she was concerned about her two grandsons and her granddaughter. And the granddaughter, she was playing with tarot cards and darker stuff. She didn't know what she was doing either. And you could feel the atmosphere when you're in a demonic presence, you can feel that atmosphere. It's a lot different than dealing with the regular walking into a place and dealing with a regular spirit. You're gonna feel like you're feeling like you're walking through mud when you walk into a location that's demonically possessed, haunted. And for like me, I feel the pressure in my chest. It feels like something hit me between the eyes, and you can feel the pressure on your head as well. And so, in that particular case, my dad and I were the only 2 that could go because it was an emergency. The rest of my team were working, so they couldn't make it, and we were I was investigating solo, but I'd stay in camera view at the whole time so my dad could see me. He can hear me, and so got done, decided to take a break for a little bit. We're just sitting and letting the cameras do it. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and the one camera just sits there and just pulsates like static. So we kept watching it, and then it started getting worse. And then you see this black figure appear in it that stood well over 6 feet tall. And I said to my dad, I said, keep an eye on it. I'm going to go check that camera out and check that out, see if that's maybe something casting a shadow in the hallway or something like that. So I go back there and I'm staring at this figure. It's at the end of the hallway just looking at me, and you could you could feel the intense pressure of it, and I was holding on to my St. Benedict medal, and this thing dropped down to about 5 feet tall, come running straight at me, disappeared right at my leg, and then 3 scratches on this arm, right down my arm. And it was basically that one was warning me as well that get out of here or I'm gonna hurt you. So that one was a pretty those 2 were pretty bad case. The first one took about 6 months to get rid of it. The other one, sadly to say, that family, we weren't able to help. The guy did not want to follow instructions. He reverted back to his old ways, doing his Satan worshiping and all that stuff. And he wouldn't even do our holy water. He said it's against his religion. And I basically advised his mom get those kids out of there because he's not going to follow our instructions. He's not going to do it. He's just going to revert back to his old ways. And he did. I even told his girlfriend the same thing. If you're terrified, you might want to get away from him. And that's the best thing we can tell him to do when it comes to that. Um, and he did. He went back to his old ways. Him and his girlfriend were going down the road. He was driving. He got in an argument with her. He said his eyes changed color. They turned black. He tried to strangle her right there in the vehicle while he was doing 70 down the highway. She dove out of the vehicle down the road doing while he was doing 70 miles an hour. And I talked to her shortly after that. And she says, "Yeah, I got away from him. I've always been really interested in all this stuff. I watched all the movies and a lot of interviews. Very curious about it all. Yeah, it's a fascinating field. I mean, I can tell you this with dealing with dark demonic entities, it is not fun, and it is true like my cousin Ed and Lorraine Warren says, it takes a little piece out of you every time. And it does. I mean, when we deal with something that dark, we're drained for weeks on end. I mean, and then we have to do a lot of cleansings on ourselves just to make sure we don't bring it with us. So there is a risk behind it. And another demonic case we did was in a house in Kansas City, and she was experiencing this hoofed figure peeking around her kitchen door. That got they got a door that goes down to the basement, and it was right around that door frame that comes into the kitchen. And so we went there and investigated. We were in the bedroom. We were doing an EVP session, just sitting on the floor, and I got the notion to look under the bed because they love dark areas, closets, under beds, attics, basements. They thrive in dark areas. So I looked under the bed, and then all of a sudden I got this real nasty smell. And I made the comment that it smells like ass under here. And the owner husband made a joke about it. He's like, "Did you leave your dirty underwear under the bed again?" To his wife being a smart ass. But that was that actual entity in that home. He was coming up from the basement because they had a portal in the basement. So we get done in the bedroom. We go out to the kitchen where she's experiencing it. And I had my medium friend was online. She says, "There's something hanging on your back and somebody's about to get pushed." Well, it tried to go after my one member, but it got me instead and threw me into the basement door. Yeah, they smell like sulfur, urine. They just rot like a rotten egg smell, but you also get like a urine smell, real nasty, disgusting smell, like rotten meat smell. And so I ended up getting thrown into the basement door. Basically, what it was trying to do was throw me down the basement stairs, but I wasn't standing close enough to the basement stairs for it to do it. And it wasn't a very high level one. It was a lower level entity, but we were able to that one we were able to help the family and get rid of it. And I still check on them, and they're doing excellent. Nothing's going on. I had a question, but I won't ask in here because it's really long trying to explain something that has happened quite a few times. Yeah, you can private message me, Virginia. I'll be glad to answer that question for you. I may have, I might have an answer for it. And yeah, they do smell like sulfur, rotten meat, urine. Another thing you notice with your demonic flies congregate clustering in one room, um, roaches, clutter. They it's you'll notice that when you have something like that. Um, and I mean, also you notice with that as well with the demonic. Uh, you'll start waking up with bruises, and it is true. Everything in threes. To mock the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. So it does happen in threes, and like the witching hour at night, it happens as well. Um, many people believe that witching hours from like 3 to 6, which is not true. If you go by my cousin Ed Warren's theory on the witching hour, starts after 9 o'clock for the demonic. They come out. That's why you never be in the Warrens Occult Museum after 9 o'clock. So, but paranormal's around us all the time. I mean, it happens during the day. I mean, I worked at a haunted school as a custodian at night with another lady, and we experienced paranormal stuff even in broad daylight happening. And I mean, this would be about 4 or 5 o'clock a lot of times when we're experiencing something like this, and then even later on in the night. Crazy thing that happened the other night. I got done. I do the upper floor. I got done. I come down to help my coworker with her stuff. Walk down, shut some lights off down the hallway. I see the woman's bathroom light on. Now, her and I are the only two in this building, and I hear a man's voice, and coming from that woman's bathroom. It sounded like an older man, and you can hear banging around in there. So I run up and I asked my coworker, I'm like, "Did anybody come in here? Did you see anybody?" Because I said, "I didn't see anybody." And she said, "No, nobody came in here. I didn't see nobody." I was like, "Well, that woman's bathroom light's on down there. I can hear a man's voice coming from that bathroom, and I can hear the stall doors all banging in there." And she started kind of getting on edge, and we thought maybe somebody had broken in. So I said, "You stay up here. I'm going to go check it out and investigate it." I go back down there. Bathroom light is off. Everything is quiet. I walk in that bathroom, check, because if it was a human using restroom, things would be moved and messed around in there. There was no paper towels in the trash. The toilets haven't been used. Everything is all clean. All doors are shut like normal. There was nothing. There was not even any footprints or anything or dirt tracked in there. Nothing. That was something I couldn't even debunk. And that just happened the other night, which was a crazy experience. The floor I work on, I call him the third floor dweller. It's a shadow figure that stands at the end of the hallway when you're down on the other end, and it'll look at you. And then as soon as you start walking towards them, it'll disappear. And it's a it's a pretty interesting place. It was built in 1888, so we have a lot of the schools here in Missouri that are haunted. Um, we've got and they hold funerals and stuff in them and stuff like that. So yeah, if anybody else has any more questions, feel free to put them up in the chat. We're gonna get ready to wrap up here. We're only gonna do an hour tonight. But again, this is what the Exorcist house looked like that that boy lived in. And I mean, look at my cousin Ed Warren that helped out on the Endenfield poltergeist case. If you watch a video, there's a video on YouTube, and he's communicating with it, and the table slides across the floor. So, I mean, some poltergeist activity is associated with the demonic stuff as well. And so, if anybody else in the chat's got any more questions they want to ask or post, we've got some events coming up. Um, September 27th, we'll be in Caney, Kansas at the Border Town Paracon. Um, it's free admission, so come out and you can see us. We'll be out there. Our friend Vixen Paranormal from Texas will be out there. Our friend David Glidden will be there. Uh, EPP Paranormal will be there. There'll be several paranormal investigators, cryptid, UFO people out there as well. Um, and then again, the come see us at the Rock Island Roadhouse Historic Expo. That's going to be a good one. Make sure you get your tickets at extremeticketing.com. And we got several. My family will be out there. Nesper, Wade, Chris, Tony, Rick, Um, so they'll have the Warren's Occult Museum out there. Annabelle is coming. So if you're wanting to see Annabelle, she will be there. Um, so make sure you get your tickets for that. It all starts on Friday night, where you can hang out with Grizzly Chris and several others out there at the campfire telling stories about their cryptid stuff. They'll be talking about the cryptids, the ghosts, and aliens and UFO sightings and stuff with CE5. Um, and then the big Paracon goes down October 4th at 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. We should have some merch we'll have there on sale as well. Um, I'm working on getting some merch made right now, so you can come out, buy a podcast logo shirt. We'll have some team logo shirts, and we're making some surprise shirts in memory of my cousin Dan Rivera, who passed away in July. So, and we'll have the equipment out on the table as well, so you can look at it that we use. And if you got questions, you're just starting out, and you're curious about equipment, we can show you how it works. And there will be equipment there for sale. My buddy Bill Bryan from Empty Casket Paranormal, he'll have equipment there for sale. I know there's a few other vendors there that'll have some equipment as well. Um, and if you're going to see the Warren's Occult Museum, if you guys are leery on it because you hear all the stories about Annabelle did this, Annabelle did that, you're perfectly safe around it. They won't, she won't bother you. There's proper safety precautions they do before you even enter that museum, and you cannot even get up to Annabelle to even get near that case. So, and the main thing, be respectful. Go in with good intentions. Don't go in with bad intentions. Be like Robert, the doll. Ask for permission to take pictures. Same with the shadow doll and the rest of them. Just be respectful. So, before we go, I'm also going to clear up. I've been getting bombarded with questions about Ed and Lorraine's house since I'm related to the Ed and Lorraine. Yes, Matt Rife and Elton bought the house. They are fixing it up. They are working on keeping the Warrens' legacy alive. They're not out to disrespect it. They just bought the house and the property. They did not buy the artifacts in the museum. Those are still owned by Nestor. They will never be sold. In fact, if you go on the New England Society for Psychic Research Facebook page, you will see there is a statement put out by my cousin Tony and Judy. So, regarding it, and like I was telling some friends, if you're gonna go investigate the house when they open it up as an Airbnb, be respectful. Don't go in there looking for Ed and Lorraine. If they're there, they'll come to you and greet you. Don't go in there calling them out. Don't go in there with the mindset, oh, I'm going to debunk items and this and that in the museum. I'm going to challenge them. Don't do that. I can tell you those items are dangerous. If you go in with good intentions, you're going to be okay. If you're going in there with bad intentions, you're not. You're just going to wake them up and feed them that energy they want. Especially going in the house there. If you go in that house and start provoking, you're going to wake the museum up downstairs. So don't do that. Go in there with good intentions and the mindset that everything's going to be good. We're here to research. We're here to check out the history, like sit at the table that Ed and Lorraine once sat at and discussed their cases with their team. I mean, look at it from a historical point of view. Don't look at it as a moneymaker or this and that. It's history. It's another chapter in the Warrens' legacy to keep it alive. and then eventually the artifacts in the museum will be housed in a commercial museum. So you'll be able to take tours of that eventually. That's what they're working on. So hopefully that answers a bunch of questions so people stop bombarding me with them too as well. Um, and just keep following Nestor's page. They put stuff out. Follow Elton Caskey from Overnight Paranormal, and he's been respectful. They've been working on the house and fixing it up. So, I mean, despite if you like them or hate them, they are still the pioneers in this field. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be doing what we are today, investigating paranormal. And another thing I wanted to touch on too, people trashing Ed Warren. Ed Warren is a veteran of this country. He fought and almost died for our country back in World War II. He was on that ship that got hit by the Japanese that sunk. He spent days in the water trying to keep himself alive and his friends alive around sharks and all kinds of stuff, and he almost died out there. But people want to make the disrespectful comments about him, but they don't look at that he was a veteran. He fought for us. And so, I mean, we log in and everything we see is Ed and Lorraine this, Ed and Lorraine that. I mean, they're both gone now. Let it go. I mean, they can't defend themselves, but they got family who can. I mean, stop with all the hate. There's no reason for it. I mean, what is it accomplishing? Nothing. By trashing people that are already gone, you're basically trashing two people that are passed on. Does that make people feel good? No, it shouldn't. Have a little respect. I mean, they still got family out here that have to log in and see this stuff. I mean, let it go. I mean, I see it all the time, and how do you think their poor daughter feels that has to go online and see her parents getting trashed every 10 minutes? That's everything you see between the tabloids and stuff like that, and then listening to people make fun of a Nestor member passing away and celebrating it. How sick are you to do something like that? That is very disrespectful to his family and to the rest of them. And many people don't know Dan like we do. He was a genuine man. He loved to educate, and people want to say that he's this, that, and the other thing. He was none of that. If you got to know Dan personally and investigated with him, he had a passion there for the paranormal. He loved to educate people, talk to people. He'd give the shirt off his back to you. And that's one thing about Dan that you can never take away from him. And these people just want to badmouth and trash talk it. And I know I'm going to catch some backlash about this, but this is my show. I can do it. And those guys are my family. I'm related to them. I get it too. But it's not right the way they get bashed for no reason. Oh, that Annabelle's a money grabber. They're not doing it for that. They're doing it to educate, just like Ed and Lorraine wanted it. I seen that harsh comment today about it. You don't know if they were doing it to get rich, they would already be rich. So people need to stop reading the clickbait crap that's out there and falling for all the junk that people are putting out there because it's not true. I've seen a lot of it firsthand. I've been around Annabelle. I've been around those items. I've investigated with Nestor. They're nothing what people are making them out to be. Those are down to earth, genuine people, including Wade himself. Wade's another one. So is Chris. That'll give the shirts off their back to you, and they're in it to help people. Same with Tony. Everybody trashes Tony Sparrow. They call him an asshole. They call him this. They call him that. I watched that man open his wallet and buy coffee for people when he hardly had anything at a Warren's Paracon. He's nothing what people make him out to be. And so with closing, I'm gonna leave it at that. Um, um, when they talk about bad about people, just don't listen to it. I mean, there is a lot of bullies out there. The paranormal field is nothing but bullies nowadays. Um, and if you're being bullied, you do have a voice. Speak out. If you need someone to talk to, reach out to me. I'd be willing to listen. Um, Same with you other teams that are being bullied. You guys have a voice. We support you. We're not going to judge you. We don't judge on how the way you investigate. There's no, the only wrong way of investigating is provoking. That's the only wrong way. That's the only thing I'm against in the paranormal is provoking. I mean, paranormal's thinking outside the box. We're not professionals. We learn something new every time we go out. So, I mean, that's even like Missouri State. It's never the same thing when you go. It's always something different. So, and even in residential cases, I mean, we do a lot of residential for people. That's what we're in it for. We're in it to help people. I mean, they, even Ed and Lorraine, that's what they were in it for, to help people. They're not, they weren't in it to harm people. They're not in it for the fame like people make them out to be. Yeah, because they got on the news. So what? They were out there helping people. They didn't hurt people like people make them out to be, that they aren't the heroes. I know Hollywood likes to make up stuff. Oh, Sandy, you're welcome. I mean, I'm sticking up for my family because I'm tired of it. I've been seeing these comments and hateful things that people are saying, so I'm speaking my mind about it, and that's the way it's going to be. Um, but that's what they were for, to help people, not harm. And I don't know where this whole pedophile thing come out about Ed Warren. That is not true at all either. He had no mistress in the basement. So people need to stop making that crap up too. And people talking about Tony Sparrow like that. I've seen the memes. I've seen all this out about it, and it's garbage. If people would worry about investigating paranormal themselves and stop worrying about trashing this one and trashing that one, like I said it before, we'd make some more headway in this field. But people want to be the bigger party. Why? Because they're going to get fame, fortune. That's not what the paranormal field's about, fame or fortune. We're not in it for that. We should be in it for the right reasons, not the wrong ones. In it to help people, not harm people. Teach our new investigators that are coming up the right way of investigating, not showing them, oh, hey, it's okay. We can go out and bully that one. We talk about this one. It's okay to do that. We shouldn't be teaching them that. Because then they're going to turn around and keep doing it too, and then it's just going to be a full circle, keep going round and round. And it's done. I mean, we've seen our share of drama. We've dealt with it as well. We still deal with it. But little word of advice for anybody that is dealing with that stuff: starve it. Don't react. Don't post anything about it. Don't say nothing back because that's what they want. Just starve it. Just keep pressing forward. Keep your head down. Keep moving forward, doing what you're doing. If you're pissing somebody off that they're causing you drama, that means you're doing something right. You're being successful. That's why they hate my family the way they do, because they were successful at what they do. And like I said, they are the pioneers of this field. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So, and I'm going to continue to support them. Whether you hate me or you like me, I don't care. I'm supporting my family, and I'm going to defend them because it's not right. Everybody has a right to their own opinion, but if you're going to come at me trashing me about my family, don't do it because you're not going to get a reaction out of me. I mean, yeah, I hate to see it, but you're not going to get a reaction out of me, so just take it somewhere else. And so, with that being said, we're going to get ready to close the show out. Um, I thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And like I said, remember, you do have a voice if you're being bullied in the paranormal field. Um, and we do support you. There is still some para unity in some of us. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it. And I will continue to stick up for Ed and Lorraine all the time. Those guys are my family. Same with the Johnson brothers. They're my family as well too. They're related to me as well. Um, Same with John Zappis. I'm not gonna let anybody trash my family and they do it for the right reasons. Just because they got on TV and wrote books, so what? That's not fame or fortune. Awesome. Yeah, we'll keep their legacy alive, and that's where it's gonna be. So the Warren's legacy is still gonna live, and it's still gonna keep carrying on through all of us that support them. The haters, they're not gonna win. So that being said, I hope everybody has a good night, and we will see you next week. Same time, same channel. Um, Again, be sure to come check us out at some events. Like I said, Bordertown Paracon in September 27th at Caney, Kansas. That one is free admission, so come in and listen to a bunch of us guest speak and panels and meet with a bunch of us, and then come check us out at Rock Island Roadhouse Historic Expo. There'll be a bunch of us there, over 100 of us there, between my friends that Get Haunted, Next of Kin Paranormal. Um, no, don't go fan. All right, I'll stay on a little longer, but just for you, Granzer, since you're a big supporter of us, and we appreciate everybody that supports this podcast, and you guys are what makes it what it is for me to keep doing these shows. So I appreciate each and every one of you that tune in each week and share it out, and come and see us at Paracons. We were supposed to do ErieCon and Ashmore Estates in October, but that one got canceled. Um, so, like I said, you can come see us at Rock Island. Um, we will be at Marshall Cinema October 16th and 17th, helping out with the haunted house again this year. I'm not going to tell you what character I'm playing this year. You guys are going to have to guess and figure it out. So, anybody in the local Missouri area, come on out to that haunted house. I mean, we get I think last year we had probably 2,500 walk through the door the first night, and then another 1,200 the next night. So they did. Um, so yeah, come on out and check those out. The book's coming along pretty good. It's getting just about done. One more chapter to go, and I'm getting ready to send it off to the publisher and editor. So hopefully I'll have it there at Rock Island, maybe even sooner at Bordertown. I don't know yet. We'll see. Um, Little update on the movie I'm writing. That is almost done. I'm working on talking with some people on getting filming locations. I'm working on getting some more people to act in it as well. So I may be putting a casting call out. So for that, I'm working on getting somebody to film it. And I already just had an idea for another one too as well. So we'll see how this first one goes. The movie's called Hell in the Woods. So, and I got some pointers from a horror movie icon that uh, most of you know. He starred in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 as Chop Top. He played Otis Driftwood in House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and Three from Hell. And I got some pointers from him, some ideas to add to the movie. So that'll be good when it comes out. I'm gonna actually run with his ideas that he gave me, especially coming from a horror movie icon. So that's gonna be great. If you get a chance, check out Bill Moseley on if you haven't seen any of his movies. He makes some pretty kick-ass movies. Bill does, and he does a lot with Kane Hodder in movies, and so and then Douglas Tate's another good one. I got to meet him. He's the one that played Jason in Freddy versus Jason. And he also played in Michael Myers. He did the stunts for the newer Halloween movies that came out, and also played the Hellhound in Annabelle Comes Home, which I didn't know that until I got to meet him and I got talking to him, and I was actually wearing my Seekers of the Supernatural shirt with Ed on the back with Annabelle, and then he got telling me about that movie. And he also played. I didn't know this. He also played Sasquatch in the Jack Lynx commercial, which was pretty cool too. So, but yeah, Granzer, we were what you missed tonight. We were actually talking about Annalise Michael. She, you'd have to check the replay. She's the exorcism that inspired the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And then Zach Bagans bought the actual exorcism box from that case. Christopher St. Booth had it, and he sold it to Zach. Then we were talking about the case of Roland Doe, which inspired the movie The Exorcist and the book. And this is the actual Exorcist house here in St. Louis, Missouri, from the actual case. Replay, let's. yeah, it. Yeah, it's I read all the info that I've got, all the history research I did on it. Um, a lot of people say that this Exorcist case was fake. I mean, with the Annalise Michael, I believe that one was real. She was really possessed. Um, the St. Louis one, that one's a little tough to deter. I mean, there's reports saying that there was no evidence of him having superhuman strength, that nobody got injured. Because they're saying that he broke the priest's arm and slashed the priest with a bed spring, broke a priest's nose. I mean, this is what the priests have reported, but they say there's no actual evidence proving it. I mean, but the guy was a skeptic that wrote it. So, I mean, it's hard to say on that one. Russell, when you posted this, I thought you did thought of did you ever do a video of the entity 1980 based off the book? No, I haven't done that one. That that would be a next topic for that. Do something like that. I would like to do some talk about more exorcism cases and stuff like that. Yeah, there was a 2000s movie of it called The Possessed. And then there was a 2010 movie made called The Haunted Boy: The Secret Diary of the Exorcist, where a group of investigators travels to a location in question and uncovers the diary that is said to be kept by William S. Bowden, who was the actual priest on that exorcism. And which also inspired the 71 novel The Exorcist. Oh, The Entity, yeah. There's another good movie that was back in the 70s called The Evil, and Richard Crenna stars in it, and he was the one that played Troutman in the Rambo movies. Um, he was a doctor, and he had these students that came up. They were in rehabilitation, so he had got this mansion, and they come up to do some work on it. Well, they find in the basement, they find this box that's got a crucifix holding these doors shut, and so they don't know what it is. They don't figure out what it is, and they end up pulling that crucifix out. Well, they release an evil entity into the house, and it starts wreaking havoc in the house on all these patients that are in rehabilitation repairing this Victorian home. And there's a lot of gruesome scenes where uh, the one guy was cutting with a power saw, and the evil entity makes him cut his own hand off. Never seen the book, just saw the movie when it came out. The Exorcist, yeah, that scared a lot, traumatized a lot of kids. That movie did. I remember seeing it at a young age. Right, right, the evil. Yes, I remember seeing it. Yeah, that movie. That movie's nuts too. I mean, that one guy that gets electrocuted by them wires, messing with those wires and gets electrocuted. Then the dog gets possessed and attacks the woman. I meant the entity book. Never read that. No, I've never read that either. I may have to check out the audiobook on it or buy it on Amazon. It's probably for sale on be on Amazon too. But yeah, that evil movie, and then there's a spirit in the house that tries to protect them too. It's trying to warn them, and it tries to warn the one lady, and her and Richard Crenna are the only two that make it out of there. The rest of them, they all get killed in the movie by that dark evil entity. Supposedly, that was a big case, maybe the first, where they had professional cameramen who took pictures of those spirits. Yeah, and I mean those back then were like 35 millimeter cameras, so stuff like that you can't fake. I mean, you got a negative, and you got to develop all that stuff in the dark room. I took photography when I was in school, and we used 35 millimeter cameras, and I learned how to develop film like that. And in a dark room. And I think I was about, I want to say, sixth grade when I took photography, and I kind of enjoyed it. And that was before I started my getting into the paranormal research and stuff like that. But I mean, that's like the Amityville case there with the little boy that reporter took. That was on a 35 millimeter camera, and people try to say, "Oh, they had a boy stage there." They didn't have no boy stage there. Yes, and the entity, it's a story event that modern day paranormal researchers have looked back on that event. Some say it happened. Some say she was suffering from mental illness. Yeah, and I mean that's what they said about Annalise Michael too. They said that she was dealing with because she had epileptic seizures, that she was experiencing psychosis caused by temporal lobe epilepsy, and she was diagnosed with depression by and was treated at a psychiatric hospital. But that doesn't explain why she couldn't go near religious objects. Okay, Virginia, when I'm off here, I'll take a look at it. I'll answer it for you. You're very welcome. I want to say in the entity, they got one of the spirits on camera, like maybe an orb, but also that is messed. See, I'm not with orbs. I'm not too sold on them as far as them. I know they're balls of energy, but I mean, unless you can really pull a face out of them, I'm not too sold on orbs. I mean, I wouldn't present them to a client or anything like that. I mean, if it starts, you take all the orbs and it start to come together and form a full-bodied apparition, then that's something different. Mess with the camera in that when it was taking pics, those pics were sort of coming out bad. Camera and film were fine. Those were professional photographers. Yeah, I've seen back in the day where you'll take a photo of somebody and something else will lead into it where it's another whole different person. That's actually happened to me as a kid in my stepbrother's mom's house. They took a picture of me. I was wearing these cool sunglasses, and there was another whole group of people that bled right into the picture. And this was taking on one of those cameras that you actually have to take in and have developed, which was strange. but that house that they were in was also haunted as well. So I tried to explain it the best I could. If it confuses you, just let me know. Okay. And so I mean, I've seen stuff like that happen before. I mean, there's some orbs that I've gotten that were legit that they took a pic of you when you were a kid. That was what, 4 years ago? You were a young guy. I wish that was 4 years ago. Yeah, those days of taking in photos and be developed seemed, yeah, it's been a long time ago. That was even before the Polaroid camera came out. I remember those as well. But yeah, we used to have to take those cameras in and have them developed all the time. And Kodak, I remember the biggest one was Kodak Film Company, and so yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap up here for the night. Um, Again, I thank you all for joining me tonight, and if you're being bullied in paranormal field, you have a voice. We will see you all next week, same time, same channel. Um, RIP. Yeah, it's been a while since he passed on. So, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up for the night. Right on, Russell. You have a good night. Thanks for the vid. Looking forward to catching you later. Yeah, thank you for coming on, Granzer, and I thank everybody for your support for supporting this podcast. And you guys are what makes this show keep going. And I thank you for everything. And keep tuning in. We'll have more and more each time. And I am working on a very famous guest. So hopefully, when he gets back to me, I know he's been busy. He's been traveling and he's been working on a house of his that some squatters had been living in. So he told me he'd get back to me when he's done, and I'm gonna have him on the show. So you too, Granzer. Have a great week, everyone, and Russ. You too, Greg. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Um, so we will see everybody next week. God bless. Stay safe out there. Everybody have a good holiday. We get a 3-day weekend, so we're awesome about that. And we go back on Tuesday to the haunted school again. So everybody have a good night. Stay safe out there. And we will see you all next week. Same time, same channel. Good night, everyone.